Today's video sponsor is GVG Mall, bringing you all the software deals you need, like Windows 10, Windows 11, Office 2021 with a new Windows 11 design, and even Windows Server 2022. For all of these, you can use my SKG discount code for 25% off, getting a Windows 10 serial key for only $16. Then use the key on your Windows settings and you'll have an activated system. Hello guys, Ancient Gameplays, I'm Fabio Pisco, and today I'm here making a video just to tell you that FSR3 frame generation mod just got better. With the same mod you can just enable, for example, upscaling, or you can enable upscaling plus frame generation. So for now I believe that I stand correct, and this is still a paid mod, and this is the Look FZ paid mod. Now, some people have this mod because the mod was leaked, of course, so some people might have the older version of this mod. Now you can install with or without the wizard. The wizard, the software itself is not needed. It is easier to use, but in some cases it still won't work, so the manual installation is still the best. And in order for you to have this mod, you have to become a patron or a patron of Look FZ on Patreon, of course, and then it will give you access to his Discord page. After that, you'll have access to this. All you have to do is go, for example, to the mod releases, and you not only have the FSR2 to FSR3 mode, you actually have latest DLSS mods, you have DLSS mods for frame generation for Dead Space, you have lots of other mods. But if you want to go to the FSR mods, you have to go to the Heavily Whip FSR2, FSR3. And now you have lots of mods with lots of updates as well. You have the downloads are available on the website that you have to select here, mods.lookfz.xyz. You go there and you select, for example, the latest version. It might actually ask you to enter the website with your Patreon account to kind of link those in order to access the website. It will only unlock that way. Now, for example, imagine that you want for example, some games, Cyberpunk, The Witcher, Hogwarts Legacy. If you want some specific games like Cyberpunk, for example, you go here, and then you have default, we'll use DLSS, blah blah blah. So you download the common mod files for Cyberpunk, desktop, bam, and then you download the mod, which is FSR 2.2 for Cyberpunk as well. Bam. In case you want the installer, all you have to do is go to the community resources, open it, and then you have the Look FZ FSR2 FSR3 mod setup wizard. You just go there and you have the latest one here. Go download it. For example, you can download via let's say via Google Drive. Just download it, and you'll have a RAR file that will then extract to this folder that you see here with these files inside. And after having the application, you do need to kind of download other things. For example, if you want Hogwarts Legacy, it is still FSR 2.2. But if you want, for example, another game, let's say Spider-Man Remastered, it uses FSR 2.1. So it is advisable for you to download the FSR 2.1 as well. And if you don't have any game that supports, let's say, FSR 2.0, you can just go here, down here, and select generic FSR 2.0. Download as well, bam, and then generic FSR SDK. This is in order for the setup wizard to work properly, okay? Then all you have to do is go, for example, FSR, let's start with FSR 2.2, and you kind of put the FSR 2.2 on the put FSR 2.2 folder. Then you go with the FSR 2.1 and you also put it there, FSR 2.1, bam. Then you go to the FSR, to the FSR 2.0, and you put it there inside the FSR 2.0. Then you go to the FSR SDK and you put on the SDK folder. And then you go to the common and you put these two files only. You can just put these two files only here on the put common, put common. Now keep the RAR files because they might actually, you might actually use them manually, and you'll have to use them manually. For example, I had to use them manually on both The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, maybe because they're on the GOG launcher, maybe that's because of it, but I had to use it manually. As for the Look FZ mod, you go here, right click, run as administrator. Let's start with Plague Tale Requiem. So as you see, I'm running Plague Tale Requiem. If you want to see the options, settings, we have the graphics. Okay, so we're running resolution optimizer, of course. We don't have the LSS enabled because we can't enable the LSS. So 1440p resolution optimizer to ultra quality, and the settings are high with textures to ultra. So that's basically what it is. And as you can see, 58, 57 FPS. Yeah, 57, 60. That's what we got. Now, as soon as I go here, for example, Plague Tale Requiem, I select in the games, in the LookFZ mod wizard, I select Plague Tale Requiem, auto search. It will search automatically where your game is located at. So search main mod version. As for the TOML format, you can select the standard one, and then with the built-in Ultimate ASI loader. Just select it, then you go for fake NVIDIA GPU. In order to have the upscaling only, you don't do the built-in upscaling. What you do is go still default, but you enable upscaling only. Now, installation completed, no missing files, and with enable upscaling only. So now we're back again on the same scene with the same exact FPS. Then we go to settings, graphics menu, and now we have the LSS unlocked. Because once again, we kind of did the mod of the LSS to FSR. Now we have the LSS frame generation is enabled, but it just won't work. It just says yes. If you go to no, it's exactly the same thing. But the LSS optimization works. So we go to the LSS quality, and we went from 50 something to 72 FPS already. Okay, 72, 70, from 60, 50 something to 69. On the same exact scenario, okay? Now you do the same process to enable the frame generation. You just have to quit the game once again, go back to the mod, and then instead of enabling the upscaling only, you just disable this one, install once again, and don't forget that for a Plague Tale Requiem you have to enable the fake NVIDIA GPU, okay? And now back into the game once again. So if you're moving the mouse and you see this, which is basically the UI flickering, the UI shimmering, you know that the FSR3 mod is enabled, because that's one of the things that we still have. It's the UI and UI shimmering and flickering, and I sincerely hope that we didn't have this, but we still do. But as you see, in terms of FPS, we went from 70 something to 120 something. So it is working, and it definitely feels way smoother than before with the 70 FPS only. Way smoother. And since with Plague Tale Requiem we don't actually have the UI all the time, it actually feels quite nice. So 120, 130 versus the usual, let's say, well, 70, 60 something. The only thing that you'll notice is with the subtitles. If you're using subtitles, they will shimmer as soon as you move the camera. But besides that, as you see, 120, and I must tell you that in terms of artifacts, it doesn't really have many. The thing of you moving the mouse and you seeing the shimmering, for example, on the trees is not because of the frame generation, it is in fact because of the upscaling. So if you disable the upscaling and use only the frame generation, it won't have this shimmering. But yeah, as you see, it works perfectly just with the mod wizard. But in my opinion, it is still better to use the manual installation mode. It is much easier and you can do it per game. Once again, Palworld, you download the files to your desktop, bam. Download common files, bam. Then you go to the folder of the Palworld where you have it installed. In this case, mine, I believe it's here, Steam Library, common, Palworld, exactly. Then you install the mod not in this exactly. So the mod is not installed here. You have to go to the Pol folder, binaries, Win64, and then you have here the folders. I'll just delete these ones that I had before in order to show you. With these settings, I believe it's high, yes, TSR, high settings with epic texture quality, and no DLSS of course, because this is an AMD GPU, the RX 7600, 6700, sorry. So 54 FPS when looking there. It depends where I'm looking at, of course. If I'm looking at these trees or these rocks, I get like 65, 60 something FPS. In this case the same, even more, 70, 72, 73, but as soon as I look down there, I get like 59, 60, and so on. So what I have to do is quit the game, go to the folders that we have here, so we go and copy the FSR2, FSR3 ASI, bam, and then we go to the common and copy these two files as well. Bam. Just this. This is how you do it. Then you run Palworld once again. The mod is still not enabled, as you can see, 57 FPS. And we don't have the LSS enabled, so we have to quit the game. On the same folder, there will be a folder file called this one, fsr2 fsr3.config.toml. You open it with Notepad, and you have to enable the fake NVIDIA GPU to true. Bam. And then Unreal Engine DLSS workaround. True. And here we are. Now we went from 50 something when looking down there, not even reaching 60 to 114 FPS. And let me tell you that we do have some shimmering, of course, on the UI and on the main character as soon as you move the camera. It's quite annoying sometimes, I won't lie, it's quite annoying. But the smoothness when looking down there is much better. I believe that the overall smoothness, well, it's a plus. It's a plus, definitely. I believe that they enabled the mod without... Yeah, the LSS gets enabled automatically as well to quality mode. So once again, we're having around 117, 120, well, much more FPS. What we can do though is enable the upscaling only, and you can just copy this, enable upscaling only, and paste there. And as you can see, if we go to the settings, options, graphics, we have everything set to high, exactly the same settings with epic texture quality, and the LSS is enabled. But as soon as you move your character, well, you have no shimmering because once again, frame generation is disabled, but the LSS is enabled. We were having, let's say with TSR, 55, 50 something, and now with the DLSS mod, we're having 65, 66. So, well, you can enable just the upscaling mode, or you can enable upscaling and frame generation. It still works decently better than before, generally, yes. Yeah. Now, just to finalize, want to do this, for example, with The Witcher 3, because there are still lots of people that play The Witcher 3. Well, just go here to the website once again, search for The Witcher 3, and if you do not have here the game that you want to enable, you can just download these generic FSR 2.0, 2.1 or 2.2. Here it is, The Witcher 3. Download the common mod files. Download the FSR version. Go to the folder where your Witcher 3 is installed. I believe mine is here, exactly, Games SSD2, The Witcher 3. Then once again the mods aren't installed here. I believe you have to go to the bin, then x64dx12 in this case, and it is here where the real executable is. As you can see, application, Witcher 3. This is where you copy the files. So once again, FSR2 to FSR3, FSR2 common, you copy these two files, and now you run The Witcher 3. Oh, by the way, you can have an error while initiating the Witcher 3 like this, so it just won't go because you have to disable MS Afterburner. Disable MS Afterburner just when running it at the beginning. After that, you can re-enable it and it will work, okay? Well, as you see, it is working. Once again, if you look at the, for example, the text that we have on the sides, you can see it is shimmering. That means that the mod is enabled. As for the settings, we have options. Once again, graphic options, let's go to the display. Yeah, 1080p, let's go to 1440p. Graphic settings, we have, of course, we have ray tracing off, and you need to enable the LSS in order for the frame generation to work. If you use FSR, it won't work, you need to enable the LSS. We're hovering at 1440p with the LSS, 94, 95 FPS. Once again, we still have a bit of shimmering, especially on the UI, but that's not something, or at least according to LookFZ, that's something that it can't do or it can't fix. But it definitely is much smoother than using the normal 60 or 50 FPS. Definitely much smoother. If we disable, for example, Airworks, we get a lot more FPS. Airworks, yeah, let's disable it. Bam. The FPS will automatically ramp up a bit. Yeah, 117. So that means that the base FPS are quite higher, now reaching around 60. And yeah, the smoothness is much better. Frame generation does work way better with a base frame rate of at least 60. Yeah, besides the UI shimmering, it works quite well overall. 120, 100 and something. Yeah, I can't complain. So it is as easy as it can be. Even if you want to enable, let's say ray tracing. Let's enable ray tracing with the performance mode. It will still reach 60. It won't be pretty. I'm telling you right now that it won't be pretty because the base FPS are too low. But it will definitely be better than using just 30 FPS in terms of base frames. And I must tell you that in terms of shimmering when running around and so on, it is much better now than it was with the previous versions of the mod. It has way less shimmering in terms of the character than it had before. It works much better, definitely. And well, there were more games where I tested this. I tested this, for example, in The Last of Us, it worked. I tested it in Hogwarts Legacy, it worked as well. Alan Wake is way harder to make it work. The same for Ratchet & Clank, also works, but all these games, I had to use them manually in order to make them work, because otherwise they wouldn't. In Ratchet & Clank, sadly, it doesn't look that great. The quality, yeah, it's not that great. We have lots of shimmer. I wouldn't advise for Ratchet & Clank, but it works. If you want it, it works. 100 and something, 90, 99, much better than the usual 50, 40 something. Definitely much smoother, not even comparable. If we compare here, for example, when comparing 40 or 40 something to 90, 90 something, it just works much better. And in other games it works as well. In Cyberpunk, once again, all you have to do is do the same. You have to enable the fake NVIDIA GPU, true, once again, like we did before, and then run the game and enable the LSS, and the frame generation will work. So as you see, for example, we're hovering 130, and if we look at the UI on the bottom left corner and on the bottom right corner, sorry, we actually have lots of shimmering when we're moving the camera. That means that the frame generation is working, and we have lots of shimmering. Like, it's insane here. It doesn't look pretty. I can tell you right away that the mod in this game does not look pretty at all, and that's because, well, also because CD Projekt has been doing some really crappy job with FSR. For example, if you enable FSR, it has way less shimmering than the DLSS mod, but it still has lots of shimmering, and it didn't have this much shimmering before. It was worse than the LSS, definitely, but it wasn't this bad, and now it is, because it seems like every new update that CD Projekt launches, it makes FSR look worse and worse and worse, while the LSS looks better. And yeah, this is not just a thing that I'm thinking, it's not just of my mind, it's true. FSR 2 implementation in this game was much better before the 2.0 update, and it was even better before the 2.1. So 2.0 made it worse, and 2.1 made it even worse. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah. You can use FSR 2.1 with the... yeah, you can use it, and it will decently work with frame generation, but it won't work at 100%, not the same way. As soon as you enable the DLSS mod, this is where the frame generation really works. Yes, much smoother. As soon as you see the UI shimmering, it is much smoother. Looks worse, definitely, much worse, definitely. I wouldn't play the game like this, but it does work. It might seem confusing to some of you, but it's easy, and it works in a lot of games. Like I told you, I tested with Hogwarts Legacy, it works. I tested with Marvel Spider-Man, that you can see in the other video that I made. Ratchet & Clank doesn't look pretty, but it also works. The same for Cyberpunk. The Witcher 3 actually works very nicely. Same for Plague Tale Requiem and some other games. So some games work better with the frame generation mod, some others not really. But overall, it works. I could try Starfield, and I did try Starfield, and it worked as well. Not as great as some other games, but it did work. But in the next week we'll have FSR 3 frame generation finally included in the game officially, so I believe it's nothing really relevant to show it right now, because in a week, once again, we'll have FSR 3 officially in the game, so it will be much better, definitely. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video, and see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.